I'm joined by Jonty Cogger from Ndifuna Ukwazi, an organization that obviously advocates for the rights of people living on the street and many others. Jonty, yesterday we heard the announcement by the President lifting the state of disaster, but what are the organization's concerns or any fears?
Yes, I think the main concern is that the lifting of the regulations will embolden the City of Cape Town law enforcement to illegally evict. So we know that there are countless examples that during the lockdown, law enforcement didn't abide by the eviction moratorium. People's homes were demolished in Khayelitsha, and we represented two communities, one in District 6 and one in Greenpoint's tennis club, where the law enforcement dispossessed people of their homes. So the real concern is that the City of Cape Town is going to use this as an excuse to embark on widespread deprivation of people's tents, and this would be a violation of the PI Act, which protects someone from an illegal eviction without judicial oversight.
Jonty, when the state of disaster was implemented, you were one of the organizations that wrote and called on for moratorium on evictions, and later on government obviously categorically stated that they will be implementing that. Do you think that the announcement by the President was clear in regards to some aspects of, the laws or rather the regulations that were in place during the lockdown?
I mean, it was quite clear that there was an eviction moratorium, but however, unfortunately, what's not very clear now from the statement last night is what is the situation post the lifting of the regulations. So unfortunately, it's yet to be known whether or not the eviction moratorium will be in place. I mean, we cannot underestimate the economic consequences of the lockdown. I mean, thousands of people have lost their homes. During the lockdown, they were unable to shield themselves from the coronavirus. But I mean, you really need to look at the economic situation, have a sympathy for people who are close to homelessness and are awaiting their eviction order, or who have already been illegally evicted and are living on the streets.
And then, Jonty, from any of your clients that are currently living on the streets, have you received any communication from them that, there is an idling eviction order in that regard, seeing that you have represented about 2 communities already during this period of the lockdown?
We've only heard rumours, and we really do call on the City of Cape Town to follow the legal process set out in the PI Act. But I mean, of course, the problem would be the availability of alternative accommodation, which is always the constitutional issue in any eviction case. And you cannot just evict someone and displace them to another area. You have to provide decent, adequate housing.
I mean, we all know the history with, people living on the street or homeless people, and the City of Cape Town described as very, some people say anti-homeless, some of the bylaws. And now that you're saying that, also with the lifting of the national state of disaster being a little bit vague in regards to the evictions, are there any plans that you have in terms of negotiating with the City of Cape Town or sitting around the table as to how best to move forward?
Yes, I mean, there is pending litigation in the High Court challenging the constitutionality of the streets bylaw, which emboldens or empowers the law enforcement to fine and arrest and imprison a person who refuses to go to a shelter. But I think it would be disingenuous of the city to continue any law enforcement operations pending that court case. And we really do call on the city to halt any law enforcement operations while the judicial process is being taken.
Jonty Cogger there from Ndifuna Ukwazi, attorney at that organization. Obviously, the impact of the lockdown having an economic effect on a number of people, and seeing the widespread economic impact has seen a number of people resorting to, finding or seeking shelter onto the streets. According to a study that was conducted in the City of Cape Town, there is close to 14,000, if not more, people that are currently living on the street. And, Jonty does also speak about the fact that as much as there is this history of, friction between people living on the street and the city of Cape Town in regards to their bylaws, he is hoping that they will indeed reconsider, taking into account that, now that the national state of disaster has been lifted, what it exactly means for that moratorium that was put in place during the lockdown period for various municipalities and government not to evict people.